It's gotten to the point where I don't think people think before they speak. Honestly, I don't think they think before they speak. And today we're going to be speaking about a woman that goes by the name Jennifer Shurell, I think I'm saying that right. And she works on Guild Wars. Guild Wars 2 more specifically. She's the lead designer. We're going to be discussing her and how she falsely accused someone of being a white supremacist and driving into 2 protesters. We'll also be talking about a dude that works at GameSpot that goes by the name of Alessandro Filiari and his ridiculous take on AngryJoe's tweet, and some less than decent comments that were sent Neil Druckmann's way. So the timestamps will be in the description below, but let's jump into it. So firstly, you've got this guy called Alessandro Filiari, and he works at GameSpot like I said, and AngryJoe sent out a tweet and he was basically condemning the people that were sending nasty messages to Laura Bailey. Laura Bailey is the voice actor for Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. Now we all have our opinions on Abby. You guys know mine, I don't really like the character, but everyone has their own opinions. AngryJoe himself in his review was very vocal about his dislike of the game, but it wasn't because Abby has big muscles. That never really came into it. And disliking the game doesn't automatically mean that he's a misogynist or that he's pushing any kind of hate. But obviously this dude Alessandro is trying to push the narrative that AngryJoe was doing that and AngryJoe sent his mob, and these people that sent these nasty messages to Laura Bailey are part of the AngryJoe army. Some nonsense. And his tweet basically reads, "Sending death threats is a small PP energy. If you send death threats, you are a piece of shit with micro dick and are announcing that fact to the world. It's never okay, you stupid idiot." I stand with Laura Bailey, who did an awesome job voicing her character Abby in The Last of Us Part 2. And like we've said before, The Last of Us Part 2 has many problems. Voice acting is not one of them. The acting in the game is not one of them. It's the story that they're telling. That's the main problem with it. But this dude Alessandro just completely undermines what AngryJoe has said. He makes out like AngryJoe is pushing some sort of hate-driven agenda against Laura Bailey and Naughty Dog. And he says, "This tweet from AngryJoe rings incredibly hollow considering his review of The Last of Us Part 2 is just an extended diatribe of his sexist, misogynistic views. His content more than likely contributed to people harassing Laura, so he can fuck off with this pathetic about face." It's unreal how you can even say that. First of all, for anyone that knows AngryJoe, you know he's very progressive. He's much more progressive than I am, or a bunch of other people. He never pushed for people to go and send her death threats. He never pushed for anyone to say nasty things to her. AngryJoe did none of that. And if you watch his review, which is I think well over an hour at this point, he at no point discredits the game because Abby is super muscular. That's not his main talking point. Sure, if people made jokes about Abby's physique, 100%, but that's not his main talking point, and he never advocated for anyone to go and say these things. Now you can like or dislike a game, and if you dislike a game, that doesn't automatically mean that you want any harm to come to the people involved in it. But obviously having opinions in 2020 is a risky thing. You can't really do that these days. This imbecile Alessandro, you know, obviously he's fishing for brownie points. He's making out like because AngryJoe has a negative view of the game that somehow he is pushing hate on people, which is just dumb. And this is the thing with gaming journalists today. They're not impartial. They can't see things for what they are. They're either paid off or they're so far up a company's arse that you get nonsense like this. Like this is one of the stupidest tweets, but it continues. I really hate giving this discourse any more oxygen than it deserves, but if you hated Abby from The Last of Us Part 2 because she has muscles, then you're a pathetic, weak-minded soul. I despise how typical insecure male gamer outrage has polluted all discussion about this game. Now I am sure there are people out there that don't like Abby for the sole reason that she has muscles. I'm sure there is, but AngryJoe is not one of them. And if you took away from AngryJoe's review of The Last of Us Part 2 that he was angry with Abby because she has muscles, then you're a moron. And Alessandro, if that's what you took away from it, then you're a moron. If any jokes are made, you have to remember that they're jokes. And yeah, it's funny to poke fun at it. I mean, she looks like Brock Lesnar. It's fine to make jokes of it. Everyone makes jokes. People make jokes at my expense. It's no big deal. But that doesn't mean that he's pushing for hate on Laura Bailey or Abby. Abby was just a shit character, muscles or not. She didn't have many muscles by the end of the game. I still didn't like her. In a game about a contagious fungal virus ravaging the earth, people demanding plot justification for why Abby is fit and in shape are revealing their own insecurities about women. Abby is her own woman and she can look like however she wants, and she looks great in the game. She can look however she wants, but in a game that is very heavily story driven, you'd think that there would be some sort of justification for how she is that buff. But even then, I mean, even if they justified why she was buff, it wouldn't have changed the game at all. So yeah, it's a mute talking point. No one really cares at the end of the day. It's funny for memes. I mean, Abby being buff or being skinny wouldn't have saved the character. The character's trash any way you want to spin it. It was bad writing that ruined Abby. It wasn't the voice acting, it wasn't the acting, it wasn't the graphics in the game, it wasn't the gameplay. It was Abby as a character and how the character was portrayed. She's rubbish. There's no two ways about that. I don't dislike Abby because she's got muscles. There's loads of female characters that I play in video games or that my friends use or that we've come across that have muscles. They may not be as hulking as Abby, but then there are some, like you've got Chun-Li, you've got Cammy, you know, you've got a bunch of characters where they're very muscular and people don't have an issue with it. Now those games are not very story driven, like Street Fighter is not a super story driven game. It doesn't make its bread off its story. But then at the same time, like if a game is making money from its story solely and that's what's carrying it, and you tell a shit story, then that's what it is. Abby's story was not sympathetic, no one felt bad for her, and she was a crappy character, muscles or not. But then moving on, you've got these harmful messages that were sent. Well, not harmful, but you've got these messages that you really shouldn't be sending people. And Neil Druckmann tweets, "You can love or hate the game and share your thoughts about it. Unfortunately, too many of the messages I've been getting are vile, hateful and violent. Here are just a handful of them. Feel it's important to expose. Trigger warning, transphobic, homophobic, anti-Semitic." And these are very similar to what Laura Bailey was dealing with. So I'm not even going to repeat half of the things on there. I'll put it on the screen for you guys to look at. Now, as I said before, anyone that watches my videos, even though I don't have a very large audience, if you all went to someone's Twitter, you could mob them, you know? And you should never do that. You should never, ever. You can express your opinions, you can say the game's crap, I don't like the game. There's loads of things I don't like about it, even though I praised a few things, but you should never dogpile people like this. It doesn't go anywhere good. It makes people like myself or AngryJoe or the Quartering who have legitimate gripes of the game, it discredits us because these people like Neil Druckmann and that Alessandro guy, they think that we are advocating for people to go and do these sort of things when it's complete opposite. You can dislike something. I'm sure they dislike loads of games. It doesn't mean that they're advocating for people to go and dogpile someone's Twitter, but obviously they will spin that narrative because, you know, the game's being shit on a lot, and what's the easiest way to do something is to play left or right wing politics, and suddenly you've got a whole team on your side. It can't just be objectively a crap game. It always has to be a political thing. It always has to be about a social thing, you know. Going and sending these messages, it's not helping the situation at all. It's not constructive. You know, it's just silly. It's nonsense, and no one condones this. But then you have this guy, Kirk McKean, I can't even say his name. A lot of this is fueled by YouTube reactionaries who profit from riling these people up. Something needs to change. They can't continue to operate like this. Many of them have legitimate sponsors. And that's, to me, that screams like he is trying to get sponsors taken away from some YouTubers. Now, I don't have a sponsor, obviously, but there's bigger YouTubers. I'm sure AngryJoe has his sponsors. I'm sure that the Quartering has his sponsors. I'm sure like It's a Gundam, they have their sponsors. It's a Gundam's already been under attack. Someone reacting to something. So for example, I react a lot to the things that are put out there, and I have never once said that I want anyone to be attacked for anything that goes on. But someone like this who doesn't really care about the truth, or obviously he's tagged YouTube for the obvious reason that he would like these people that commentate on stuff like The Last of Us to have their shit taken down, basically. And it's kind of a classless move. It doesn't really go for the people that are causing the problem. You know, people that send hate-driven messages, I'm sure there's a way to find out who they are. Going after people like the Quartering or AngryJoe, they're not putting forward any hate. It just seems very lazy, and if you were interested in getting to the bottom of these things where these people weren't there so we can have a constructive conversation, you would actually do that. But I don't think this Kurt guy is interested in that. I've read through a couple of things that this Kurt guy says. He doesn't sound like he's got his head screwed on, to me at least. He doesn't sound like the kind of person where I can sit down and say, I don't like The Last of Us Part 2 because of X, Y, and Z, without him turning around saying that I am a sexist, misogynist, or some crap like that. But then we move on to the final story of the day. Guild Wars 2 lead game designer Jennifer Sherlock ignores evidence, falsely accuses innocent man of white supremacy and vehicular assault of 2 BLM protesters. That is a wild claim to make. That is a wild claim to make. I'm going to show you some of the tweets that she's been putting up. So she tweeted, I came here because I wanted to report to you about a white supremacist attack on BLM protesters in Seattle last night by driving a car into a small crowd, hitting 2 women and injuring them gravely. The video, however, is so graphic and horrifying to watch, I won't share it. So for context, and those of you that don't know, there was a video circulating on the internet of 2 black women, I think they were black women, they were at the BLM protests and they were hit by the car. One of them is in bad shape and the other one didn't make it, unfortunately. So Jennifer came to Twitter to report it. I don't know why you wouldn't go to the police and report it, but she came to Twitter to report and bring attention to it. That's fine. However, there's a little spin on this story. So she continues tweeting saying, I didn't listen to my friend when they said to not watch it, and I need you to listen to me now. Do not watch it. I was not prepared. All you need to know is this. Right-wing extremism is the most prevalent form of terrorism in this country and is fueled by Trump. That's fine. If she has those views, that's 100% fine, but this is where the story gets a bit more murky. A white supremacist drove a goddamn car car into a crowd with full speed and the intention to murder protesters. 2 bodies flew in the air like they were nothing. This is what Trump is doing to this country. This is what he does to his followers. Now, I think it's a bit disingenuous to drag Trump's name into it. No matter what you feel about that guy, I think it's a bit disingenuous to drag his name into something like this. But she continues tweeting saying, "This is my city and these are my friends in the streets fighting for what is right, exercising their right to protest. We all deserve so much better than this living nightmare. Vote in November and vote this man out of the goddamn White House." Okay, she clearly doesn't like Trump. She's very left wing. That's all good. I ain't got a problem with whatever way people want to lean. That's all good. The problem is that she has been outed as doxing the wrong man. The man that drove into those BLM protesters was a black dude. And this is really disingenuous. See, now it's these kinds of people, and I'm speaking to you as a black man. We don't need you out there doing this. This just invalidates anything and everything that good people are trying to fight for. We don't need you to do this for us. I don't know what you think you were doing. And again, the only reason I'm covering this story is because it's gaming related in the sense that she is the lead designer of Guild Wars 2. So we don't need you to do this for us. Just get it through your thick skull. You don't need to do this, trust me. You're not a friend of any movement. You are an enemy. You are the kinds of people where, you can feel however you want about Trump, but if you dislike him, this is the kind of stuff that will make people want to vote for him. So you're actually going against what you want. Like, you're going against your whole agenda. And she's conveniently made her tweets protected because I imagine after this all came out, she would have been getting bombarded. But the worst thing about this is that she doubled down. She doubled down about it. So this is the guy that she accused of driving the car into people, this J.O. Baker. And she's wrote, "Some false images are circulating of the supposed driver, but they are not real. This was a white supremacy attack, and we know that from one of our groups being overrun by them in their active threats. Not hiding this man's name this time around because he is dangerous." Now bear in mind, this J.O. Baker is just a normal family man. He wasn't there. He has nothing to do with this whatsoever. Then she wrote, "When are we going to treat the threat of white supremacy and domestic terrorism with the seriousness it deserves? We have burned whole countries over the threat of foreign terrorism. It's time we treat this with the same seriousness when terrorists are white." Okay, yeah, fair enough. Now, the guy has been outed. He's been arrested. It was a black guy that ran over those people. It's been confirmed. Then she goes on to tweet, "I need to leave. I need to go outside and breathe. I can't see this. Men having all the receipts ready to discredit the people they hurt. All your alarm bells should go off. This is my worst nightmare. This is why I will never ever say what happened to me." I don't know what happened to her. I'm not even going to bother commenting on that. But this dude, J.O. Baker, had nothing to do with it. Nothing to do with it whatsoever. And even after being proved wrong, the mere fact that she was proven wrong by a white man has triggered her. She needs to go outside. Guild Wars, whoever's in charge there, you need to get rid of this person. She is so counterintuitive. This is not helping the movement. It's not helping the movement at all. There are problems with the Black Lives Matter movement. We don't need this shit on top of it. If there's going to be any real change coming from it, we definitely don't need someone like Jennifer, lead designer of Guild Wars 2, chiming in and blaming an innocent man. Again, all you're doing is fueling another 4 years of Trump. Now, I'm neither for or against Trump. American politics has nothing to do with me. You clearly don't want Trump in office. Why lie? You can't get away with lying on the internet anymore. People will find out so quickly. And so this Jennifer girl has gone quiet, obviously because she's been caught lying, and even after lying, she doubled down on it, which is the craziest thing. She couldn't just hold her hands up and say, "Do you know what? I made a mistake." She doubled down, and obviously this guy's a family man. He had nothing to do with it. Whether he is against or for Trump really is inconsequential at this point. If he didn't do it, you can't accuse him of that. One person has passed away because of that, and the other one is in serious conditions. And this woman that works on Guild Wars 2 started flying her woke wagon and flying the woke banner, trying to, I don't know, impress black people. I'm not even sure what she was doing there. Jennifer, I'm speaking to you as a black man. Please just stay in your lane. We don't need people like you. We really don't. You're a parasite. You live off the back of whatever's trendy. If you genuinely cared, you wouldn't want to condemn an innocent man. Doesn't matter if he's a straight white male. Leave people alone. But guys, what do you think about all of this? Do you think the journalist was right in saying what he said to AngryJoe? Do you think AngryJoe was wrong in tweeting that? How do you feel about this whole BLM situation with the car and this Jennifer woman accusing this guy? Let me know in the comment section below. That's all I got for you today, guys. Take good care and peace.